Hi everyone, it's Jason here, and I'm going to take you through a well-being session today based on character strengths. Hopefully, you've all done the character strength survey in Connect group over the last couple of weeks. So, we're going to talk about what that might teach us, how you could use your strengths to help improve your well-being. If you haven't already completed that survey, your Connect group teacher should be able to give you the link, and you can get that done as soon as possible. So you should have your top 5 strengths written down somewhere safe after doing it in Connect recently. We're going to quickly run through what those strengths mean. So they kind of fall into 6 main categories, and I'm going to go through those very quickly now. The first category is wisdom. So these strengths all kind of revolve around a love of learning and a curiosity with life. The second set here are around courage. So they involve a lot of stuff around resilience and being able to get through life's challenges. The third group is humanity. So these ones are really about kind of empathy and social intelligence. We've got a group called justice, which is very much about, equality and fairness. Then the group called temperance, which is kind of around restraint, being able to hold yourself back and be sensitive to others' needs as well. And then the last group is called transcendence, which is kind of things beyond normal experience. These all kind of center around, I guess, mindfulness and really appreciating the pure joy or beauty of life. So have a think about where your strengths lie. If you want more info, there's a whole bunch of detail at the University of Toronto, and your Connect teachers can share that link if you're keen. But right now, I'd like you to spend a minute to think about, what do you notice about you? Do your strengths fall under certain categories? Those 6 categories. Are there any trends that you notice? So teachers, pause here for a second and get the students to have a look at any trends in where their top 5 strengths lie. All right, so now I'd like to talk about how you might be able to use these strengths to your advantage. And I'll give a few examples here. First of all, just in general happiness and contentment. If you've got strengths like zest, hope, and love up the top of your list, you can use those strengths to increase your well-being and decrease depression. So examples of that might be, if love is a high one, making sure that you foster those connections with the people that are really important to you, that you spend quality time, that kind of thing. So think about your strengths and how you could utilize them to increase your happiness. The second one I've got here is around relationships. Definitely recognizing and appreciating character strengths in other people is going to help you improve your relationships with them. So if you've got a partner, or your parents or caregivers, I strongly encourage you to get them to do this survey and get a bit of an awareness of what their strengths are. I got my wife to do it, and one of her top 5 strengths was curiosity. And that one in particular has kind of stood out for me because we're obviously, we have children and we're parenting together and making our way through the challenges of parenting. And there's been a few times in the past when she's sent me articles and things about parenting and ways that we could be doing things or new strategies. And I think there's been times in the past when I've maybe taken that the wrong way and thought that maybe it was, she thought that we weren't parenting well enough or we should be doing it differently. But what I've realized through this is that it's really just her using her strength of curiosity. She loves learning and finding new ideas and researching, and she's just sharing, what she's discovered. And that's helped kind of improve our relationship, especially when it comes to parenting. So have a think about how you could work on the strength of your relationships by having a bit of an understanding of this. Next one is dealing with problems. So knowing and embracing your strengths can help you build your resilience and take on life's challenges. So for me, one of my top ones was appreciation of beauty. I know that when I'm stressed and when I've got problems in life, I love to run. I love to get outdoors, and I'll run around the reserves or the lakes of Canberra and just really take in the natural beauty of being outdoors. And that for me is really kind of cleansing and refreshing, and it helps me kind of reset and recharge my batteries and take on whatever problem I'm dealing with. So what are your top 5 strengths, and how might you use those to kind of deal with life's problems? And the last one here is self-esteem, using your character strengths to your advantage to help build your confidence. So it might, you may not be a star at basketball or you may not be the best at maths, but you are an expert on your top 5 strengths, and you probably use them in a whole bunch of different areas, not just one specific skill. So have a think about what they are and how you tap into that to really get the most out of life and feel good about yourself. Again, for me, with the appreciation of beauty thing, I really like painting. So that's one way that I've built my confidence by using one of my strengths. And that makes me feel good. So have a think about what you might do and what you enjoy and how your strengths kind of fit into that. So teachers, pause here and maybe get some conversations going, get the students into pairs or groups or whatever works for your Connect group, and think about how their top 5 strengths might help them with their sense of contentment, with their relationships, dealing with problems, and with their self-esteem or confidence. All right, the next thing that I want to talk about is the idea of overplaying your strengths. So often we're challenged in life. Stressful things happen, problems arise, and obviously we engage our strengths because they are our strengths. But what we find sometimes is that we overplay or we over apply our strengths. So let's say, for example, that one of your strengths is perseverance. If you're stressed, you might be thinking, oh, I better get organized. I've got to get stuck into it. But because of the stress, you kind of overplay that strength and it turns into micromanaging or nitpicking or focusing too much on the details, being a bit bossy. So it's not that you've turned into a horrible person or that you can't get the job done. It's just that you've overplayed your perseverance strength. You've just turned it up a bit too high. A personal example for me, one of my top 5 strengths was humor. What happens when a strength like that gets overplayed? Well, it might come out as sarcasm or as not taking things seriously enough. So this one is one that I've got personal experience with. I definitely notice with my kids, sometimes if they're really upset about something, I'll draw on my strength of humor and I'll, try and make light of the situation. I'll just kind of be a bit of a goofy dad or crack a joke. And sometimes they don't appreciate that. Sometimes they feel like, oh, you don't care, you're not listening to me. And I've realized that they're right. I'm just overplaying that strength. I've turned it up too high and it's coming across as me not taking them and their feelings seriously. So as a result of doing this survey, I've kind of learned to dial that back. When they're upset, I don't make a joke of it. I try and connect with them and be empathetic and sensitive, and then maybe bring the humor in a bit later on. So in these situations, what we're seeing is that we're engaging a strength, but we're just turning the volume up a bit too high. So what do we do? Well, now that you kind of know your top 5 strengths, you can recognize when you're overplaying them, and consequently you can try and turn them down. And what I'm hoping too is that by acknowledging and embracing our strengths, we can kind of reframe negative thinking, negative thoughts and feelings, and we can understand them as overplayed strengths. Okay, so that can be a really powerful tool. Teachers, maybe pause here again, and students, have a bit of a think about a time when you have overplayed one of your strengths. And this can help you, have less of that negative thinking, I'm a bad person, I've made a horrible mistake, or whatever it might be, and reframe it as just turning a strength up a bit high. So pause here and have a bit of a chat about a time you've overplayed a strength. Okay, the last thing that I want to talk about today is just a bit of an example of how these strengths can be applied to all kinds of regular tasks or challenges. So the one I'm going to use is the classic example of procrastination. Lots of college students procrastinate. We probably all do at different times. So here are 5 different strengths that somebody could draw on to help get the thing done. And these may be in your top 5, they may not, but it's just demonstrating the idea that there's a whole range of strengths that you can draw on for any particular task. So if you're procrastinating, maybe if perspective is one of your top ones, that'd help you to break the task down into small manageable chunks. Maybe if teamwork is one of your top ones, you can draw on, a couple of friends or maybe an expert that you know to work together to get the thing done. Skipping down to the bottom, maybe if bravery is one of your top ones, you could use that to step out of your comfort zone a bit. Maybe it's an assignment that's particularly challenging and you're not quite sure how to approach it. If you've got bravery as one of your top 5 strengths, maybe that would help you take a bit of a risk or just, go and ask your teacher, do something that steps out of the box and helps get you into the task. So no matter what your strengths are, you can draw on them to help achieve whatever you need to achieve. All right, I hope you've enjoyed the session and you've gotten something out of it. I hope that your Connect group has had at least a bit of conversation around those strengths. What trends do you notice with your top 5 or 6? How might you use them to help improve your well-being? Have you recognized maybe times when you've overplayed a strength? And, hopefully you can take that into the future. And just an example at the end there of how we can apply our strengths to different challenges that we might face. All right, thanks for listening, everyone.